In most murder cases, fear is limited to the families involved. Between 1918 and 1919, fear spread across an entire city, not because of how often people were attacked, but because no one knew when it would happen next. New Orleans faced a series of nighttime home invasions that appeared random, brutal, and unstoppable. Then, the killer did something no one expected. He wrote a letter. And with that letter, he proved that terror does not need constant violence to survive. This is the verdict. New Orleans, in the early 20th century, was vibrant, crowded, and alive at all hours. Music poured from homes and clubs, and doors were often left unlocked. This environment mattered because the attacks did not occur in alleyways or remote locations. They occurred inside homes. The earliest attacks attributed to the Axeman occurred in 1918. Victims were attacked late at night or in the early morning hours, with the attacker gaining entry by prying open doors or panels. An axe, often taken from the victim's own property, was used. Some victims survived, others did not. At first, police treated the incidents as isolated crimes, as violent crime was not unheard of. But as reports accumulated, similarities became harder to ignore. The attacks shared key features: nighttime entry, household tools used as weapons, and victims attacked while asleep. The lack of theft suggested robbery was not the motive. Police began to suspect a single offender, but had no reliable description. As news spread, behavior changed. People slept with weapons nearby, neighbors stayed awake, and businesses closed early. Newspapers amplified fear by publishing details of each attack. Speculation replaced certainty, and once fear spreads faster than facts, control is lost. In March 1919, newspapers received a letter. The writer claimed to be the Axeman, mocking police efforts and declaring that anyone not playing jazz music on a specific night would be killed. Police could not verify the author, but the letter was published. It transformed the case. Fear became collective. It no longer mattered whether the writer was truly the killer. What mattered was belief. On the night named in the letter, New Orleans did not sleep. Jazz music poured from homes, bars, and clubs. Bands played, families turned on phonographs, and streets stayed active until morning. No attacks were reported that night. Whether coincidence or control, the psychological impact was undeniable. The Axeman demonstrated influence without violence. The letter alone changed behavior across an entire city.
This is one of the earliest documented examples of mass psychological terror. Driven by communication rather than frequency of attack, police faced enormous obstacles: no DNA, no fingerprint databases, no reliable crime scene preservation. Witness accounts conflicted, and suspects were questioned and released. Every lead ended the same way: nowhere. Over time, several suspects were considered. None could be conclusively linked to all attacks. Without physical evidence, prosecution was impossible. After 1919, the attacks ceased. No official explanation exists. Some possibilities are discussed by historians: death, imprisonment, relocation, but none are proven. The only confirmed fact is that the violence ended without a conviction. There were multiple documented attacks. There was a published letter. There was a citywide reaction. And there was no arrest that led to a verdict. The Axeman case matters because it shows how fear operates. Not through numbers, but through uncertainty. The unknown becomes more powerful than evidence. There was no trial. No guilty party. Legally and historically, the case remains unresolved. The attacks ended. The music stopped. The questions did not. This is the verdict.